Hello, class. Welcome to the second part on this introduction to Rhino slash final project development, right? For Architectural Design Studio 1, right? Spring 2018. So I had just I was just working on a file, right? And it was good into 20, almost 30 minutes into it, right? And unfortunately, the software, the recording software crashed on me. So I unfortunately lost all of my content. So that's okay. It just means I get to practice it one more time, right? And hopefully, however, it is a little scary that in the middle of the recording, it disappears. So let's hope for the best. Right? Let's hope for the best. So and you'll have to apologize me. I need to kind of trace back what did I cover and what did I not cover. So let's see. So this is where we left off last class, right? Surfaces, and then giving the surfaces thickness, right? Some sort of thickness for the um, what will be your surfaces. Now, now, now the idea is to use this same grid to create your solids, right? So I am going to copy, right? I'm going to copy all of this right there, bring it down here, and I'll show you what we're going after, right? So we're after creating our solids, right? Our little tetrahedrons, right? In three different sizes. So 1 unit, 2, 3, 5, and 8 units. So that's what we'll do. And we do this, right? Using the same command, sort of where we left off with the first part of this series of videos, right? With surface, right? Point command, right? And again, remember for that you need 3 to 4 right corners, and you create a surface. Now, in order to do that, let's create. So last video we created a set of layers, right, for the surfaces. Go ahead and create a new layer, right? Call it SLDS for solids, and then inside of solids layer, create 5 more layers, right? Called SL1, sub layers. I'm sorry, right? So we highlight the main layer or the parent layer, and then we click in sub layer, and again call this SL1, right? And I won't hit enter because it's not gonna allow me to create it. Right? But the idea, right, is that your layers look something like this right on my screen. And again, selecting colors. Well, I'm selecting the colors as close as possible to the material that you guys use to create your models, right? Your tetrahedron models. All right, so we start with the 1 unit, 2, 3, 5, and 8. All right. So once you have created those layers, all right, I'm gonna activate or get into the SL1 layer under the solid sub layer. Um, the type of command surface point, right? So create that surface, right? Creating that surface. Now, if you recall, right, from the actual physical models, right, you were using the grid to create these triangles, right? And I'll go ahead and show it to you three-dimensionally, right? And then I'm going to turn off its ISO curves, right, so that it doesn't throw us off, right? And what were we doing, right? Well, you guys were folding, right? You guys were folding these little pieces, right? So they would meet somewhere up here, and you have your solid, your tetrahedron, and we will do that same procedure digitally, and we use a command called rotate 3D, right? So how this command works, right? It's a number of steps, right? So first we select the object that we want to rotate, which in this case is each of the petals, right? And then you set up an axis, right? Think about it as a rotation axis, right? With 1 point, second point, and then we select the reference point, right? Once I select my reference point, right, you'll see that, and I'm rotating, right? It's kind of like it's laying on the ground, and I just tilt it up, or I start lifting it. Right now, the question is, well, how far do I rotate it, right? Because at some point I can do that. I rotate that, select the second pedal, press enter to repeat the last command, set my axis, reference point, right? And start rotating, right? But the idea is that just as this polyhedrons, as the tetrahedron works, the definition, they should be meeting the same point, right? They should be meeting somewhere there, right? And at this point, I'm sort of eyeing it, right? Because even that's not correct. So I'm going to undo, right? And we're actually going to use, right? We're going to use what's called dihedral angle, right? So you do a search on dihedral angle, particularly of the platonic solids, right? You find sources such as this one, right? On Wikipedia, table of polyhedron dihedral angles, right? So the first 5, as you can imagine, these are your platonic solids, right? And it gives you the approximate, very important to note that, dihedral angle in degrees. Right, the one that you might recognize is the hexahedron, which is the cube, right? And there's an image here that helps us visualize this a little bit better. But it's basically, right, the angle that each of these faces folds, right? And you see that is different for tetrahedron, the cube, octahedron, icosahedron, dodecahedron, right? And that's approximate, right, as we're gonna see. The one that we're after is this 70.53. 70.53. Right? Now, if I do a rotation 3D, right? Select my object, set my axis, and my reference point, and type 70.53, right? It kind of works. And I say kind of, right? Because it did lift it up and he rotated it, right? But let me bring a tool. I made this protractor right here. So I'm going to control copy, paste it over here, and I think it's somewhere out here, and I'm going to move it from its midpoint. It's actually important and interesting as well to see what happened, right? So you have it, right? So protractor 180 degrees, right? You have your 70 degrees right there, right? And it worked, right? I mean, we had a surface on the floor, we set up the axis, and it rotated, right? I mean, it rotated like that, right? But what happened? Well, we actually wanted to end up oriented like this, right? We want our polyhedron, our pyramid to look like that. Well, that's because we actually need to rotate it, right? Additional degrees, right? Some more. And what is that number? Well, that's actually the difference, right, of the 180 degrees you have right here in the half a circle minus the 70.53, right? Which is your 109.47. So let me do a copy of this so that we see both. Right? Um, that's okay. Yes, do a copy. I'll go ahead and select that one and delete it. Go ahead and copy, right? Select that guy right there, bring it there. And then we'll try it one more time, right? So what was the command? Rotate 3D, select the object, right? Let me go onto a ghosted view so that we can see through the objects right there, right? And set up our axis, reference point. Now, what was that number? It was 109.47, right? So again, you don't want to eye it or kind of estimate it. I'm just going to type it, right? 109.47. So 109.47, right? Enter. And there you have it, right? So it's just a little bit before the 110, right? So that's the only, you have to take that into account, right? So yes, this angle now, right? The internal, that's the dihedral angle right there. That is the 50 point, if I'm not mistaken, 53. All right, so again, I'm not confuse you in that. Just make sure that you understand the logic behind it. If not, let's make sure that you ask me, right, in person, and I can try to explain it to you physically, right? With maybe your pieces of paper. Let's repeat that. Let's repeat that action, right? I right click to repeat the 3D rotation. Select that surface, enter, one end, second end to set up my axis. Pick the reference point. And what's neat about this, right? I can either, again, type 109.47, right? Aha, what happened? Good. I'm glad that happened actually, right? Because we had the angle correctly, right? Or the degrees, right? The angle was correct, but we went the opposite direction. So I'm going to undo. And that's because, right, when we type rotate 3D, right, select the object and set up our axis, right? It matters which way you set up your axis, which one you pick first. In this case, I picked this point and that one, and this other one is the second point. Now I set up my reference, and notice that as soon as I start moving, right, or lifting, right, my surface, if you look at the bottom left corner of my screen, you'll see the units, right, the degrees that I'm rotating. Now you see that even though physically it might seem that I'm lifting up the surface, you see that I move, right? And well, I thought it was in the negatives, but let's try it, right? So 109 point, and you see that I already start typing. It gives me a preview going downward. So we can fix this. Let me finish typing the number 47, 109.47. And what do? We just add a minus for that, and then press enter, right? So right click to repeat that command, right? First end of axis, second end of axis, right? Rotate. And again, if you look at the bottom left of my corner of my screen, you see that I'm actually under the negatives, right? Negative, I move it, I move, right? So it tells me, right, if I type 109.47, it's not gonna work. I need to add, I'm gonna delete, right? Minus 109.47, enter. All right, I'm going to select my draw protractor, type height to hide it. I am going to go to shaded view, and there you have it, guys. All right, you have your first tetrahedron. Now, this is still individual faces. What do I mean by that? That if I move this face outwards, right, they're not joined, right, yet. But what we'll do, we'll actually group them for right now. Type group, enter, right? And this is one single object. Let's try the 2-unit one. Now I'm gonna go into the SL2 layer, right? What was the command? Surface point, right? We'll do the 2-unit one again, right? So 1, 2, click, click, right click to repeat last command, right click to exit, right click to repeat last command, right click when we're done, right click one more time, right? So again, I select the surface, not the ISO curve, so that it doesn't distract us. Again, think of that center one as your base, right? And what was the command? Rotate 3D. Select objects to rotate. Enter, right? Start of axis, end of rotation axis, angle or first reference point. Now it's asking me for the angle, right? 109.47, enter. Now what's neat about this is that you can set your angle once and you don't have to type it again using your O snaps, right? Ready? So I'm gonna right click to repeat the last command, select the surface that I want to rotate, enter, axis, with 2 clicks, select the reference point, and then if you have your O snap on and endpoints on, I can snap, to the previously said end, right? Right click to repeat that action. Select the object that I want to rotate, enter. Set the axis, reference point, snap to the end. Select the 4 faces, right? Type group, enter. I'm gonna move it somewhere here so it's out of the way. Right? Try one more, right? The SL3, right? Surface point. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 3. Right click. 1, 2, 3. Right click. This is going to work, kind of. Right? 1, 2, 3. Right click. Right click. I'm gonna move them, right, so that we can fully see them. Say there. Now again, select the surfaces. Turn off its ISO curves. Right. So again, that's our base surface. Type rotate 3D. Select the surface. Right. Pick an end. Click an end. Right. In this case, I think we can get away with the positive one, 109.47. Enter. Right click. Select axis. Snap. Right click. Enter. Axis. Reference point. Endpoint. Okay. Give it a shot. Try the last two, right? And you should end up with 5 solids like that, 5 different sizes. Okay, and we'll check back after that. All right, guys, how did it go? I hope good. All right. Remember, we're just grouping this right now. I'll talk more in detail, right? As to the way of joining this 3-dimensional objects. Right, so from there, right, I can type move, right, I can sort of paste them. I'm gonna use the edge of this grid that I have right there, that bottom edge, to line them up. Right, and we can start talking about rotation actually with these two guys right here, right, which is something that you're gonna be doing a lot, right? Let's say that, you know, and we just talked about rotation 3D. Right now we're just talking about rotate, I guess your normal rotation, right? So we select this tetrahedron, right? Select objects to rotate, enter. Center of rotation, right? So this is my center of rotation, right? And then this is my first reference point, and notice how I just use my object snap, right? And of course my end and intersection to do that rotation. Repeat that. I'll repeat the rotation one more time. So again, let's say that I want this line, this edge, to align with this line, right? So then this would be the angle of rotation, which because of how the software works, I don't even have to specify it, right? I can just rotate with the reference, right? So rotate, and select that object, rather enter, center, rotate it there. All right, right click to repeat last command. So you select the object, enter, center of rotation, right? It can be there, but it doesn't have to. It can be there, but just know that again, it changes, right? How it operates, right? So rotate. No, actually, I'll leave it there. Then move, bring it there, and we have, you know, your sequence, right, of tetrahedrons. Right, I'm gonna hit save. Don't forget to constantly be saving. Now, so I've been looking at this, right? And once you start scaling these objects, right? Because we're gonna get fairly big, right? That's a person there. Um, and we're gonna get big. Now, something that I realized as I've been doing this, that as you zoom in into this, right? This is a tetrahedron that I scaled up, right? They don't quite meet, right? They don't necessarily meet as they should, and that is because this part right here, this approximation. So that angle, it's not that 70.53, right? And I'm just assuming, right? Because I've noticed this way early in the semester as I've been working on this, and they're not quite working, right? So I just wanted to show you the logic behind this, right? But I found an alternative method for this, right? So that whenever we're actually working with your final project, we don't have that issue, right? And in this case, you see what's important is at least that if I type line, I only have one point. In this case, I do. In this case down here, right, I have three, which when you were talking about accurately modeling this, it's going to give us a really hard time, right? Because we're going to be snapping to three different points, which if we zoom out, it seems that it's just one, but we have no idea which one we have picked, right? I'm going to share with you guys a source, right? So how we can fix this or work around this, right? So there's this site, right, called food4rhino.com, and if I can connect right to the internet, right, give me 1 second, let me get connected. All right, so Food for Rhino, it's called Food for Rhino. This is a plugin website, right, with all sorts of plugins for Rhino, which I highly recommend. You know, little by little, just go through them and familiarize yourself with them. But there happens to be, right, and I just that would be the case, right, polyhedron, that there's a plugin to actually draw polyhedra for you, right, and it's called Rhino Polyhedra. Right, I'm going to click on that. You have to register, right? It's free, just with your email, right? So probably up here you'll have to register. But once you do that, right, you download, right? A download begins, right? Well, version 5 or 6, right? Download. A download should begin. And I think that blocker did not allow the download to begin, right? If you have a ad pop-up blocker or ad blocker, I'm not sure which one. So you need to habilitate that. I already have it installed, so just double click and open it. Just bear in mind that this plugin, it's only available for, if I'm not mistaken, for Windows, right? Rhino 6 is supported, but unfortunately there's no Mac plugin. So if anyone is working with Mac, which is okay. I mean, someone can just download this, and you guys can borrow at least the primitive polyhedrons, and from there you can build your model. Let me show you how this works, right? So once you do the installation, double click on it. You open up Rhino. And I'll go back to the file that we had right here, right? And we type, right, polyhedron. It opens up this window, right? And under polyhedra type, there's actually a category or section of platonic solids, right? You guys ready for this? Really cool, right? So you can do a cube, dodecahedron, icosahedron, octahedron, and last but not least, tetrahedron, right? So we click OK. And okay, so what's next? Well, center of tetrahedron, right? I'm gonna go to my top view, right? I'm gonna just pick that as my center. Now notice that as I move my cursor, right? I'll do my multi-view actually, right? You can see what's going on, right? It's drawing a polyhedron. it's asking me for the edge length, right? Which it's sort of an odd number, so I won't use that. So I'm just gonna snap and click there, right? And it gives us this. Right? It's a polyhedron, but we need to rotate it and scale it. And that is part of the reason as well that we're doing this. I want to introduce the class to rotating and scaling commands. Highly helpful and efficient. And they just have a few, they're just peaky, right, as anything that we recorded so far. So I'm going to move this polyhedron that I just inserted from this edge to one of these edges right there, right? The first thing that I'm going to do is rotate it with rotate 3D, right? So select the object that I want to rotate with 3D, enter, axis, right? Say from that point, I want to bring it there. That's the first thing that I want to do. And now it looks like something that we can recognize, right? It's interesting to see how the same objects, right, seen from a different angle as you guys did with your, some of you guys did with your models, right? It changes, right? And it gives you quite pleasing results. But anyway, I'll redo where we were. Now, it's important that we continue working with the grid, right? So I'm going to align it with the grid. First thing that I'll do, so I'll type rotate. I don't need 3D, I'll just need this, the basic rotation tool. Select that. Select the objects for rotation, enter. This is going to be my center of rotation. Click. My first reference point will be the end of the polyhedron, and now my second point is going to be aligning it to the grid. I'm going to go onto ghosted view, and I'm actually going to scale. I'm going to type scale, enter, and I'm going to turn this, right, 1 unit big. What do I mean? Right, so scale, enter, select the object to scale, enter. Now base point will be this point right there, the one that is meeting your grid, right? Select the second point, which is the length of the size that is not correct, right? And then the third click would be the right size, right? Select the object. This is a 1 unit tetrahedron, so I'm going to send it into its right layer, and I'll do that. And I'm going to repeat this so that we take a look at it slower, right? But this is the closest solution or alternative that I was able to find in order to solve that opening end right there. All right. But I want you guys to try both, right? And especially if you're learning the software, so that you practice with the rotation and the 3D rotation and the alignment of the surfaces, right? For the first method that I show you guys, right, with the pedals, which was this one right here. But of course, there's always other resources. Now, something else, right? I don't know if you guys have realized it, right, based on the tools that we have available for us, is that I can actually copy this polyhedron, and can you actually use the command scale, enter, select the object that I want to scale, enter. Now, for my base point, watch, I'm going to pick this bottom end, right? Now for my scale factor, right, I can select a point, right, of the first length, and I can give it a second reference, and I have scaled it twice as big. All right, do that one more time. Copy this guy right there, bring it there, scale, enter, select the object, enter, first reference distance. Now I want this to be 3 times bigger, bring it there, right? And of course, always assigning them to their right layers. All right, let's try that one more time. Copy, enter, and see if we have space for the largest one over there. So that one was a 3, right? So we'll do a scale, enter. That's the object that I want to scale. First reference width, 1, 2, 3, 4. And unfortunately, I ran out of space of the grid, but actually, I can do this. I can just type 5, enter, because that's the scale factor. CPU. Sorry, guys, it's just kind of kicked me out of our view right there. I don't know what keeps doing that. All right, so I scaled that 5 times bigger. Right? No, it didn't work. Actually, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to copy this tiny one. Right? Bring it there. Scale. Enter. Select object. Enter. 2, 3, 4, 5. Send it to its right layer, correct layer, and then scale this one right here. The surface right from there to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, and there you have it. Now let's see if I can get close enough. Right, these objects are so small that is kind of hard, but you see how that's what we're after. Now there's still a little bit of a glitch, graphical glitch that we get there, right? That it seems that you have two uh, peaks or points, but if you actually type line, you only have one, right? You only have one end. It's just a graphical error, right, that the software has. However, if I repeat that, right, and actually I tried on the one that we did with the first method, right? I don't know if we'll see it, right? That's it. I don't know, you guys see that, right? We get that, and that's not it's not good. Let me do this. Let me do a clipping, right? New, right? Let's do that. Save it. Desktop, no, and then I'll do another one of the quote unquote yes. Right, so I'll select the object, zoom selected, and then I do a zoom. I'm doing a dynamic zoom, which is holding control and then right click and scroll in. And I'm not quite being able to select to capture that view. Let's try one more time. I just want us to see them side by side. Wait for it. Alright guys, let's see if I can get this later on. Unfortunately, it's not letting me. Right? Uh, but anyway, right? There's two different methods. Now from there, I can type copy, right? Enter, right? Copy, and this is not working. We can do it from your top view and copy, right? And even better, let me do a copy of all the surfaces and then move them out of the way, right? Arrange them. Like that. So we did the same that we did with the surfaces, right? So I think we had, for the largest ones, we had 2. And for this one, we had 3 copies, right? For this one, we had 5. 1, 8. And the last one, the tiniest one, you guys remember how many we had of those? was 13, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? 8 plus 5. So we can actually use array as well. I just like we did with our surfaces, right? Just so that we have to do 15 copies, we can do an array. Select the object, enter, number in the x direction, right? Which is this, right? 1, so enter. In the y, that's where we want actually our 13, so enter. On the z, 1, so enter, right? The spacing, right? Select the top midpoint, click on that endpoint, gives you a preview. Is there very, very light white. Right click one more time, and I have created, right? If I select them all, 13 close solids, right? And this right here, guys, right? All your pieces, right? That combined with all your surfaces, right? Should be enough to start putting your model together, right? Um, which is this, right? I'm gonna turn off my ghosted view, go to shaded, right? I'm gonna type, let's say, move right there from that end. Um, and actually, you know what? Actually, ghosted would help me right here, so that actually I can see the layer, the grid underneath, right? And let's say that that guy was there. Type rotate, the regular rotation, right? Select the object, there to there. Let's say there. Right? Say that I want to move this surface from that end over there. Right? Don't know if that was an error in rotation or what's going on. Right? There's the when you're typing move, right? There's that object right there. Enter. You can do vertical there from that point, and it's very helpful. Right? You can move from a vertical rather than and these are all little tricks that we learn along the way. Right? So we have one right there now, right? The next interesting part, right? It's how do we actually put these guys together, right? Let me show you what I mean. So let's say that that's my second large object right there, and we use the same rotation 3D, right? Rotate 3D, enter. That's the object, right? Enter, axis, right? In this case, this is my reference line, my reference point right there, and then boom, and start getting that right there. All right. Let's see if I want to copy that guy right there, that one right there, and I guess shaded, ghosted helps, right? So this is where the kind of puzzle part begins, right? It's like, how do I do this? What's the best way of doing this, right? And it's just very dependent upon your project and you're doing and working with the rotate 3D command, right? So let's see, say this is my axis, right? And then if I pick that point, right, see that start rotating like that, which is not really what I want, right? So rotate 3D, there, so this is where your navigation, right? Just gotta be patient and just right, oops, not quite, right? Shaded. Do that for um for right now. Let me check something real quick, okay? All right, guys. So we just use rotate 3D, right, to let's say create this pair right here, right? And again, I'm gonna copy this to the side, right? Show you again how this works. Right? So first we need to align, right? So I'm gonna move these two guys right there, and then I need to align this edge with this one right here. So I'm gonna use rotate, the basic rotation tool right there. Enter. That's my center endpoint reference right there, and then we use rotate 3D now to tilt it. Right. So enter axis. Now this is my reference point, and we tilt it like that, right? So some rotations are easier than other ones, right? And some require a different command, right? Let's say that I want to start building out of this face right there. So there's this command called orient, 3 point, and I want you guys to watch this. Right? So select that object, and we're first going to select 3 points, right? Then we're going to select on the surface target, and it's going to orient it for us, right? So check this out. So that's the object that I want to orient, say, right? And here we go. All right, so 1, 2, 3 points. Now the way that I do my next 3 points matters, right? So let's say I do 1, 2, 3, right? It align those. Interesting, huh? Let's repeat again, right? Let's say that I want now one of these two units to project out of this face right there, right? So right click, select the object, right? So it's all on the sequence, right? First point is going, the first or second, third, right, matches the order, right, that you click here. And let's see if I did things correctly. See, I did not, right? I'm gonna try this one more time. Orient 3 points. So 1, 2, 3. Actually, I think it should be 1, 2, 3. There you go. That's what I wanted to do. This sort of commands require just patience and practice. And really, really, is just patience and practice. To be honest with you, right? There's this other one that I was trying a second ago, is orient on surface. That I'm just not able to get it going, right? For us or for me, right? Select objects to orient. Let's say that one right there. Enter base on point. Base point. What would my base be? Reference point. Surface to orient on. Let's say that one right there. Okay. Right, and then you see, I mean, it worked there. I haven't really figured out the logic behind this one. So that was interesting actually. So I'll do an orient one more time, orient surface, right? Say that I wanted to do now, again, that one right there, objects to orient, base point, that one right there, reference or scaling, that one right there, surface to orient on. How about now if I do that one right there? Huh, well, it's working, guys. So that's another one that I would try. It's really interesting. So how about this one? This one work? Right click, repeat that, base point, that one, and then surface to orient on. Huh. Well, look at that. You guys just made it work for me, right? How about, but okay, this, I want to repeat, right? Select the object, enter, base point, there, surface to orient on. Let's do now this one. Okay. Wow. Okay, that's cool. It works now. So it seems that that's how this is working. The orient on face is really neat. I'm gonna try this one more time. The objects, right? That's the base. Surface to orient on. Let's say this one. Okay. That's really cool. That's really cool. Now we start getting this well, what resembles your guys' models, right? So there's that, and there's that one right there. Orient. So then now the idea, right, is to finish um with your surfaces and your solids to mimic, right, what you have um, in your models, right, for your midterm. Do it digitally, and you guys will see what we're gonna do with that afterwards, right? But that should be the beginning, right? So again, this just takes some practice, some patience. Um, but again, any questions, just see me in class or office hours, and happy to assist you with it. But again, just give it your best. And remember, especially if you're just starting with Rhino, just know that there's some bumps on the road, but at the end, the result should be truly satisfying, and you'll be left up with a great experience in modeling and in model making as well. All right, guys. So I'll see you guys in class. Make sure that you finish your digital model. All right. And of course, don't forget, always save. All right, let's go ahead and do a save. And good luck.